Who's missing other than
We see Wafik. 1 second.
Kevin? All right, he's here now. Don is here.
All right, peace, everybody. How y'all doing?
We good, we good. Who's missing?
One more. Supposed to be coming now.
I'm good.
All right. We all good? We ready to rock and roll?
1 second. I think he's waiting on you.
Who?
Wafik.
I made you the host, Kevin, so if you want to let people in.
Oh, well, let me see how this go. If he's in the waiting room. Here we go. Admit. He's in. Okay, it looks like I got some extra juice too since you running with the Zoom. I should probably be able to go back and forth, which is going to make this a lot more entertaining. All right. So you can
Is he
start
in?
recording. Yeah, he in here. He
I don't see
should
him.
be.
See who?
Wafik.
I guess he's joining. It's happening, man. It's happening, Captain. It did say joining up here, but I don't see his name anymore right now.
There it is. It say admit on the main page.
Again.
All right.
All right.
Is that everybody?
So should be.
Yeah, that's everybody.
All right, people. Appreciate y'all. Hey, we finna just let this show go on the road and see where the course go. If y'all got a question or concern at any given time, just speak up. It's all good. This is gonna be some type of freestyle. I just felt the need to make sure that okay, Michael, Zoe, recording locally. I just let my man's record more locally, Boski. I guess he's the recorder, huh?
We on it. We
I
ready.
did that. I clicked so quick. All right, Mike, you got to share that for sure. And,
Got it.
That's craziness. All right, cool. I gotta be more careful, but it's all good. All right, y'all. So we're gonna go through this real swiftly, real swiftly. Yeah, I'm gonna take the natural time to let it be whatever it needs to be. These are some key elements. We went over what they're gonna be, but right now the first one is just rights stem from duties. I'm not even tripping. Yeah, I create this real quick in Canva. But what we talking about? We talking about no matter what you're doing in this world, your rights is going to stem from your duties. For instance, when it comes to finance, right? Most of the times we think about banks, security agencies, security companies. If you think who got the money, we talk about the banks got the money, the securities have the money, the Federal Reserves have the money. But why do they have the money? How come they got the money? What allowed them to get the money? Well, contractually, whether it was a social compact, which is an agreement between a group of people to create a community, whether it was a social compact that gave them the rights, or it could have been a ecclesiastical compact, which is a religious contract. Wherever their authority stem from, it determines what type of authority they could have, y'all. That's very important. So rights stem from duties. And in this world, internationally, it's been respected that the number one right, the number one duty that mankind has is their duty to their God or their duty to their higher power, whatever they perceive that higher power to be. That has been recognized internationally as the number one most important duty that a person or people could have, the duty to their creator or however they perceive the higher power. Or if they perceive that the highest power is their community, then their duty to their community. But whatever they perceive the highest authority is, whatever contract they could evidence and show lawfully that they have, then their duty is going to be to the higher power. Then from there, it's always been known that man has a duty to preserve himself, itself. And this is some theories that have been upheld internationally. So you have a duty to uphold whatever your most high is to you. You have a duty to uphold the things that's going to make you the best and you live as an individual being. Then you have a duty to serve your family and you have a duty to serve your community. So it's a hierarchy of duties, you know. And if you cannot document a duty or show where your duty come from, then you might not have that duty. You understand? And rights come from a duty. For instance, because you have the duty to protect the people, then you get the right to bear arms in order to protect the people, or the right to do whatever in law they say, whatever is just, okay, and whatever is necessary. Whatever is necessary and just in order to uphold your duties, you have the right to do. Okay. And that's where rights stem from. They stem from duties, y'all. Value and valuation. Value is important. Let's just go for our first little Googleable situation. I have so many things up here, but let's just Google value, right? Let's just do a simple Google search of what is value. So the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance of something, the worth of something, the youthfulness of something. This is important because if you cannot show the value of something, the importance or the worth is an economic term, right? So another definition for value is estimate the money worth of something. Well, that's a verb. Well, technically it could be an estimate. Value is an estimate, it's worth. It's a measure of something's importance. And you know, they always say they have this very important statement. We all know they say, what is that? Value, like beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. Like they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? I don't know why I'm typing this, but we hear that a lot, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Value is something that's actually in the eye of the beholder as well. The person who perceives it, the person who perceives it and receives it. So value is important. Then valuation is important because when it comes to valuation, before we talk about methods, let's just talk about definition. The definition of valuation is how do you go about estimating the worth of something? What I'm here to say is every asset in the world has a value, and every asset in the world you can show evidence for the value. And that's really the basis of everything. Let's talk about asset real quick. What an asset? Asset is anything. It's anything that could be useful or valuable, y'all. Anything in the universe, anything that you could determine and distinguish from any other thing is an asset, and that's a fact. Now, value is the worth of something, and then evaluation is a method of coming up with the worth, right? And these are some building blocks of money matters. So what's a valuation? Let's just say valuation definition. We know it's a method of the coming up with the value of something, but what are some valuation methods? Three of the main types of valuation methods are market valuation, cost method valuation, and income valuation, right? So what is market valuation? Market valuation, real quick here. Market valuation is the price at which an asset would trade at an auction. So it's like, what is the market willing to pay for something? That's how you can come up with the value of something. If you can show and prove that the market is willing to pay something for something, then that's a way of determining its value. What they say, another one, cost valuation, right? We're just gonna go real simple so that you can see this is not coming off the top of the head. You can do a cost valuation by simply weighing the price of something that exists similar to it, right? Like what's the cost of everything that it took to create it, right? So basically, if you're looking at a product or a service, you can add up the cost of creating that value, that product or service or that asset, and then that could determine the value. Or you can look at the income valuation method, right? Income is basically assessing the value of the business based on how much revenue is generated by it. Or an asset, you can look at how much revenue is generated by this asset. So basically, as we can see here, it's a whole bunch of different ways to come up with the valuation of something. And I'm here to let you guys know that there's not one way to come up with a valuation of something. As a matter of fact, there's infinite ways, because whatever system you choose to create to determine the value of something, as long as you define that system and you have two or more individuals willing to engage with that valuation system, it's an actual valuation system. It's some magic to that. International laws of money, y'all. There's a few laws in life that we definitely need to know about. And when it comes to some international laws of money, I'm just gonna throw out a couple. They got the international, let's say international bills of exchange, right? You guys know about international bills of exchange. There's a convention on international bills of exchange and promissory notes. And this is a very major law when it comes to money, because it allows you to see what are the rules and the regulations that are in place when it comes to an international bill of exchange or international promissory note that is drafted in accordance to the United Nations Convention. But what y'all gonna know and learn quickly, you can read through this, that's why I'm showing you, but you also gonna learn that every country has their own bills of exchange acts, right? Because what you'll learn is that, so they got a Bill of Exchange Act of 1882 in America. In order for something to become law in any country, the country has to create some type of act or law about it, right? So y'all gonna notice that you have international laws that really respect principles. That's what the international laws do. They respect certain principles. But then every country will create its own act or local law that respects that principle as well. That's why international principles, you can find them in all laws across the country. So you can literally just type up a country and do a Bills of Exchange Act and you'll find that. But you got negotiable excuse me, instrument laws as well, right? Negotiable Instrument Act of 1881. This is an interesting code. This is from India. It doesn't matter because you're going to be able to find one from the USA and everywhere. And what you'll start to learn, as I did when you research them everywhere, they're pretty much all the same. In the United States Code, you have Negotiable Instruments Acts, right? You have it in the federal UCC. You have it in the United States Code, and then every state has to have their own act. And you're going to notice that. So if you're in Florida, you do Florida Negotiable Act. And this is just to show you that every state has to create an act that's similar to international laws. So when you're dealing with business and banking, you want to know the major principles, but then you want to make sure that you hit up the state because they got the law too, y'all. And you can go to any state and just read these negotiable instrument laws, bills of exchange acts. You got banking acts, and trust me, y'all. I'm going over them generally because once we're gonna get deep into some principles, and we're gonna realize that once you understand some principles, it damn near don't even matter if you know the acts, and that's just the truth. It's the same shit over and over and over. All right. So you got International Bills of Exchange Acts, Promissory Note Acts, Negotiable Instruments Acts, Banking Acts. Those are the most important acts if you want to go through. And you got commerce, laws of commerce. Okay, you got laws of commerce, right? And you want to go internationally in international organizations like the World International, excuse me. They got laws of commerce coming in existence since 1334, everybody. This ain't nothing new. This ain't nothing new. The World Intellectual Property Organization, amongst others, are in charge of international commerce laws. So just remember, you got commerce, banking, negotiable instrument acts all over the world in every country, and they're never going to change, all right? Because they're international principles. That's what they are. Public versus private contracts. It's important that you get to see a couple quick things. You want to know that private contracts and public contracts are different. Governments are public or private. Governments are public or private. I want to say it again. You got public governments and private governments, right? But let's see the definition of government first, people, so you can understand how important this is. Definition of governments. Real quick, ain't doing too much, but Googling. The governing body of a nation, a state, or a community, or of or relating to a governed or governing word. Hey, I'm here to keep on going through this definition and say it's not only the governing body of a nation, a state, or a community, it's also the governing body of a company. Any governing body is a government. Any group of people or one person. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought somebody had something to say. If you do, let me know. I'm with it. Yeah, so any group of people or individual person who has the duty to govern, to make decisions, is a government. And you have private governments because you have private companies, right?
I don't want nothing. I want to give for my birthday.
You're unmuted. A man say he don't want nothing but a gift for his birthday. I feel you, brother. So what's reason why we want to talk about public contracts versus private contracts is one big thing is that public contracts don't have nothing to do with private contracts. Matter of fact, government of a public entity cannot come in the middle between the private contract. So I just want to read real quick, real simply, what's the difference between public and private. This article, I thought it was cool. It was simple but cool. A public contract and private differ mainly in the parties involved and the purpose of the contract. So for instance, if you have a contract and it's only dealing with a couple of individuals, it's more than likely private. If you have a contract between government agencies that affects a lot of people, is more than likely public. It says here a public contract is an agreement entered between a government entity and a private entity for the provision of goods, services, or construction. So as long as it's a public entity involved, it's going to be a public contract. It doesn't matter if it's a public and a private or a public and a public. Okay, it's public.
Let me
Now, as long as
let me
it's
let me add something to that really quick.
uh-huh.
I think a good way to see what the difference between public and private is as well is if you look at like for your apartment, if you're renting an apartment, that would be considered a private contract because it's what between just you and another living person. But if you were in a complex that had basically it had an organization that basically provided the apartment for a lot of people, and it was like it wasn't just it reports to the SEC and stuff like that. That would be a public public contract because they're governed by the SEC. So I say that because that makes a difference in how you can enforce things. But go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. The SEC, the SEC being a private organization that is upholding public law makes it public. And there are people who become subject to the public laws. They have to deal with that. Yet private, like a religious institution, is private. You have a private trust is private. A private company is private. Private companies can deal with millions and billions of individuals and people. Yet private contracts cannot be interfered with government entities. Okay, contracts that do not involve government entities cannot be interfered with by government entities and are generally governed by private contract laws, private business regulations, private international law. That's important. Secure interest in financial instruments. This is number 5. It's pretty interesting because we're really talking about money. We're talking about value. Okay, so pieces of paper have a lot of value. Bank accounts have value. Yet, how do you get to document a lot of this value is through securing interest in having financial instruments. So let's talk about what securing interest is. First, very basic. That's real simple. We ain't trying to go over anybody's head in this conversation. It ain't about that. What is interest? Well, first off, you just think your right to something, right? You got in on something. You deserve something, right? You got interest in something. That's a general way. Common sense is not common, but it's important. You know you got something coming to you. You got some interest in something. You own a piece of something. You got interest in something. But let's look at these definitions, and we ain't gonna get too deep. The state of wanting, we ain't talking about that. In this situation, money paid regularly at a particular rate for the use of money lent. We ain't talking about that type of interest right now either, even though they make you think that that's the most important type of interest. This is like extra money that somebody owe you because you borrowed them some money, you lent them some money, you hit them with some extra percent that they have to pay. That's not it. Here we go. An advantage or benefit of a person or group pretty much is the basis of even financial rights. The advantage or benefit to a person or a group. You got advantage of something, you got benefit of something. A stake right here, a share or involvement in an undertaking, especially a financial one. Okay, that's one. Okay, one that I don't see here, okay, is very simple. Your ownership, the degree to which you own something. All right, I'm not finna try to search for Google for everything, but the degree or the value of something, of your interest in something, the amount of ownership you have in something and the worth of that is your interest. If you have a piece of paper that you created on the paper, you drew some art, then your interest in that art is worth however much that art is worth. Okay, your interest in something is actually something that could be secured. Let's talk about what secured interest in is. Because secured interest, when you secure your interest in something or you perfect your interest, that's two things. Let's talk about perfecting an interest first. When you perfect your interest, perfecting an interest, okay? How to perfect an interest, all right? You perfect a security interest. It depends on the local jurisdiction, typically just by filing a financial statement, okay, in something. But let's talk about what is a perfected security interest first, please, y'all. Let's keep it basic first by seeing the difference. Here we go. Unperfected security interest may be enforceable against a debtor, okay? A properly perfected security interest will have priority over any unperfected interest. So when you perfect the interest, you basically documented it in the public, y'all. That's all you're doing. You're just letting people know that you got an interest in something. And it's best to put a dollar sign next to it so people are not ambiguous as to how much value that interest is worth. Yeah, you perfect the interest by publicly letting people know that you have an interest in it. And the way most people do it is by filing a UCC1 statement, filing a financing statement. A financing statement, look at that. When you let somebody know how much value you have in something, that is a financial statement, a financing statement. Okay. A financing statement is a statement that contains information about a security interest in collateral used to secure debt, and that is filled to provide notice to other creditors of a security interest. Okay, now it's finna get a little deep, y'all, because this is the beginning of us finding out why these words and what these words got to do with the money we deal with every day. Let's go back here a little bit quickly before we break down this financing of a security interest real quick, y'all, because it's gonna get a little deep real fast.
I say if
Okay,
it
all
gets
we talk,
if it's getting deep, I think people, if you guys have questions, don't don't just let it, don't let it go by and don't ask. You need to ask at the basic level so that you need to understand at this level. I know it might seem a little difficult and complicated, but if you don't understand something, you have to ask now so that we can be moving together in the same understanding.
yeah, because the only reason that this is named 33 aspects of money magic is because by the time you get to the bank accounts and paying things off, it seems like magic, but all we're really doing is using our understanding of these basic words. Once you have some understanding of these words, you start to see what's really going on these pieces of paper that we call money. So remember, at first we just saying you don't get no rights unless you got some duties. Now in 2 slides from now, we're gonna get into one of the most interesting rights there is. But you ain't got no rights unless you got some duties, and you don't have any duties unless you have a contract defining what those duties are. We talked about value and valuation, value being the worth of something as documented. Economic value, everything has an economic value. Every action, every transaction, everything. And the value is based on the valuation. There's infinite ways of evaluating something. Some of the most important ways and typical ways is market, cash, income. It's like how much would the market pay? You know, excuse me. How much income could this asset get and or cost? What did it cost to create this asset? International laws of money, we went over that just generally so you can see that there's principles of negotiable instruments, principles of banking, and principles of trust laws. We didn't really go over that, but there's banking laws, bills of exchange. These are laws internationally, and from these laws, people start to follow when they documenting value on documents. And now we're about to get to our first type of document that's worth what we call money, that is a type of money. because we realize you have to have a public or private contract, and these contracts create interest. Okay, contracts create interest, and then you get some financial instruments from that. Now, let's talk about the number one in the world, the number one type of contract that can create this type of interest. Remember, it's a secured interest in a financing statement. Okay, what is a secured instrument? Secure interest again. Let's break this down. This financing statement, okay, a financial statement comes with a UCC1 lien. A UCC1 financial statement is a lien on some collateral for the value that the creditor is owed from a debtor. Now, that means that there had to be a deal between the creditor and the debtor. So what are we saying? The deal between the creditor and the debtor was the public or the private contract, y'all. It was the public or the private contract. There first has to be some type of deal. Money is created because of a deal. Somebody said they're going to do something. That's the beginning of money being created. Somebody says they're going to do something in exchange for something. Based on that contract, they may say, I'm going to put up to collateral this certain property because I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. I need you to give me X, Y, and Z. I need you to give me $100,000. I'm going to save the world with $100,000, and I'm going to give you rights to this, my car and my house, for instance, right? Now, that agreement is called a mortgage agreement, y'all. It's a mortgage agreement. Mortgage agreement, aka a loan agreement. Okay, these mortgage agreements, aka a loan agreement, they are the things that create value. Because if you notice, the financing statement required collateral used to secure a debt that is filed to provide notice. It's filed to provide notice to other creditors of the security interest, of the interest in that asset. Now, original loan creates a lien, okay? Creates the right to have interest in a property. A lien is your interest in a property. You documenting that you got interest in the property, so you are the first person or the second person who has the right to get that collateral, okay? That's worth that money, okay? It starts with a lien, the most important lien, okay? The most important liens are maritime liens when it comes to superiority. A maritime lien is a type of lien originated from admiralty law. Admiralty law, when you think about laws, the hierarchy of laws, admiralty law trumps commercial law, and civil law. And every day we're dealing in maritime law, and we don't all the time know it. But one of the most powerful documents that creates value in the world is called a maritime mortgage. Okay, maritime mortgage document. Okay, maritime mortgages, right? Sometimes they hide them as ship mortgages, but let's just go definition real quick and we can move on because this can get deep. They want to hide them as ships, but it's not just for ships. We'll go to maritime liens and mortgages. This is important, very important, because we're talking about creating money, creating wealth. So technically, who has the right to enter into a loan agreement? Anybody. Who has the right to loan somebody something? Anybody, y'all. Any person has the right to give somebody something in exchange for some future payments, right? Anyone has that right. Well, you guys can look this up on your own time. Maritime laws, when it comes to maritime liens and mortgages, have some reading and have some good reading. You're going to realize that these are the superior liens that you could have. And when you're doing a UCC1 filing, you can file maritime liens as well. Maritime liens are come through by operation of law, which means they are naturally occurring when certain things happen. You don't need paperwork to show evidence for them. And that is the truth as well. All right. Secure interest creates financial instruments, and this financial instruments is worth however much money you have interest in the underlying asset. That's the basis of the money of the world. And then from there, you get to create other type of financial instruments. Okay, now let's remember financial instruments is different than financing statement. Financing statement is a type of financial instrument that comes from a loan or in which collateral was underneath. But a financial instruments is all types of documents, people. All types of documents is financial instruments. Can we get to the top of this real soon? I love Investopedia. Y'all can learn a lot. People can come here all the time. What's a financial instrument? Assets that can be traded, or they can be also packages of capital that can be traded. Think about this.
You're breaking
Their
up.
asset paperwork is the asset, y'all.
Yo, Kill, you're breaking up.
I'm breaking up. Okay. I'm breaking up a lot or a little.
You sound better now, but it's breaking up earlier.
Am I breaking up a lot or a little? All right, man. So financial instruments are assets that can be traded. When you're paying money, y'all, you actually trading. You're giving them a financial instrument in exchange for product or service. They can also be seen as packages of capital. Okay, examples is stocks, ETFs, bonds, certificates of deposit, mutual funds, loans, derivatives, contracts, and all negotiable instruments also are financial instruments. Okay, negotiable instruments are financial instruments. Okay, this is important because all of your bills, all of the money you have, all the money that's created is a negotiable instrument. What's a negotiable instrument? They're governed by statutory law in America based on the Article 3 of the UCC. All right, there's two kinds, drafts and notes. Okay, a draft is an order of payment. So you ordering somebody to pay something. I order you to pay this. A note is a promise to pay. I promise that I'm going to pay something. Remember, y'all, a draft is just an order to pay. I order you to pay. It's not actual payment, but it can be considered as payment because it's an asset. It's some tricky magic going on here. So if I just simply say I order you to pay something, that document is an order to pay and is worth however much I said I need you to pay. Like the document itself is payment, even though I didn't give you what I said I was going to pay you. Did y'all hear that?
Yes.
I just want people to see how kind of crazy it is, but it's real. You can just order somebody to pay something on a piece of paper. I just order you to pay it. And that piece of paper can be considered payment. And the piece of paper is worth however much you ordered them to pay, even though you never really gave them anything but the piece of paper. I'm just saying that's something to think about. A note is a promise to pay. It's I promise you that I'm going to pay you. Hey, I promise you that I'm going to pay you. And in this world, promises to pay are worth the amount that you promised to pay, even though you didn't pay them nothing. I hope we understand that. Like, I could promise to pay you $100,000 worth of gold, never give you the gold, but because I gave you a piece of paper to say I promised to pay you, I technically paid you. Hey, y'all, that's the system we live in. I just hope you understand that. These negotiable instruments do not include money payment orders governed by 4A funds transfers or securities governed by Article 8 investment securities. So they're not funds transfers or investment securities, but they are promises to pay and orders to pay. Those are the two most powerful things we chasing. Money is what? A draft or a note, y'all. The United States dollar, is that a draft or a note?
A note.
No.
Yep, it's a note. It's a promise to pay. If you see that the number, the dollar is a promise to pay, it ain't even payment. Do y'all get it? A draft is not payment. A note is not payment. They are promises to pay and orders to pay. Why is it right now possible that these promises to pay and a simple order to pay are treated like payment?
Because everybody accepts them.
Now, that ain't the reason. That's what people doing because of, well, technically I could say yeah, because technically, let me back up. Technically, money, one definition for money is this. Watch this. Okay, I don't know where they're gonna put this definition at, but I know for a fact it is one. Here it goes. Money is any item or medium of exchange that symbolizes perceived value. Do y'all hear that? So, because people choose to accept that shit is acceptable technically. Anything people choose to accept as valuable medium of exchange is money. Y'all gonna learn in this conversation that any and everything that is documented in perceived value is capable of being accepted as payment, even in this crazy ass world we living in. Anything and everything that can be accepted as value is perceived as that. Nevertheless, let's talk about why. Because you're really not paying, y'all. We're really not running around paying anything. We're offsetting debts. Okay? What does offsetting a debt mean? We're offsetting debts and we're discharging debts. That's what we're doing. We're not paying. I need that to be understood. You can take a note on that. You're not paying nothing. You only pay in the law I think in US is that you can only pay with silver, or I think you can only pay in gold with some things, but they took the gold away and then they say you can't pay nothing. You can just offset debts and discharge debts. So offset is a general right of one party to recover a debt owed by another through deduction from monies owed by the first party to the second. Y'all heard that? So offset is when I'm going to recover a debt owed by deducting money owed by somebody to a second party. I'm deducting money owed by one party to another party. I'm simply accounting, y'all. I'm just accounting. That's an offset. I'm just going to deduct some money that's owed by one person to another person. And that's offsetting a debt. You can offset, you can discharge a debt as well. It's just accounting. I'm going to send some value from here to over there. What's discharge? Discharge debt is the cancellation of a debt due to bankruptcy, y'all. Now, this is important. You can discharge debts due to bankruptcy because the whole government is in bankruptcy, y'all. The entire government is in bankruptcy. And if you want to see who's the trustees, you can do United States bankruptcy trustees. Well, I was attempting to make it that simple because it really is. The United States Trustee Program, y'all. You can do some research on this yourselves. Okay, the United States Trustee Program is a competence of the Department of Justice responsible for overseeing the administration of bankruptcy cases and private trustees under 28 USC 586 and 11 USC 101. Okay, their national program with broad discretionary powers and authorities and shit. Okay, long story short, America has trustees that's overseeing everything. Okay, America's in bankruptcy, so they have trustees managing their bankruptcy, and they have the same program that's managing the private trustees when you set up your own private trust and you want to make sure that they're administered properly and you're getting all your rights. You can really Holla at Chapter 7 trustees because they're panel trustees appointed by the United States trustee to panel in each judicial district. Okay? So every state, no matter where you at, there's a certain trustee in America that's overseeing all of the debt in that region, that's overseeing the program that America's in bankruptcy, okay? That's the fact. But so since America's in bankruptcy and all the organizations is in bankruptcy, pretty much every republic of the world, every person under the crown of the UK, all of these governments are in bankruptcy. That's why they're allowing you to play this game of discharging debts. You can only discharge debts when bankruptcy is in full effect. And bankruptcy is in full effect throughout the whole entirety of these countries and states. That's why you can discharge debt. And you discharge debt by literally offsetting the debt by transferring value, okay? It's a permanent order prohibiting a creditor of a debtor from taking any form of collection, okay, on discharged debts. So it's prohibiting the creditor. You can't even take no forms of collections after you discharge a debt. That's important. And discharging a debt can happen many ways, y'all. Many, many ways. I don't want to get into that too many deep because it's 33 of these. Wow. Okay, but this is the beginning is the deepest. Trust me, the beginning is the deepest. Securities, bills, notes, and checks. What we're going to learn is these ain't nothing more than financial instruments. These are documents. Documents. We learned that notes is what? A promise to pay. A bill is a type of note, y'all. It's an order to pay. Well, bill is a type of draft. It's an order to pay. A check is a type of draft. It's an order to pay. What's a security? A security is any document that's evidence in value, actually. Let's see if they can give us that good, sweet definition. But a security is any document that is evidence of a value for real, because you can have a stock, a bond, a loan, a certificate, or other financial instrument that has monetary value and can be traded. You see, it's like anything, y'all. Anything that has monetary value and can be traded. Well, can't you trade anything, y'all? Let's see how, I just want y'all to see how wide open the money game is when you understand that these words don't mean nothing but contracts, y'all. It just means contracts, and you can put any number, including this number here, on the top of any piece of paper. Do you understand? Do y'all get it?
Yep.
You can put this big ass number I just put on the top of any piece of paper, and the piece of paper is worth that number. As long as it has the retail, it has evidence that it has that retail value in any way. And one way that you can get evidence of a value of something it cannot be denied is anytime you have evidence of a transfer. Anytime that you have evidence of a transfer of a document that has been, let's just say, accepted for value. Now we're gonna get into some money magic. I ain't following the steps, but look, acceptance for value is a commercial right that is obtained through instruments. We're just gonna say that it's a commercial right that's obtained through instruments. But let's really get to acceptance for value UCC definition, y'all, so y'all can see. I mean, let's just use our common sense. When you accept something for value, that means, hey, I'm going to accept this. I'm going to take this and receive this for the worth that it states that it is. You feel me? I'm going to accept this for the worth that it says it is, okay? An instrument is issued or transferred if for value, y'all, is issued, or when you have evidence that an instrument, any document is issued meaning I created it and I wrote that number on the top of it. I issued that document. I transferred it. If I take that document, I wrote some numbers on the top of it, and I give it to somebody, I transferred it as long as I gave it to somebody. You deposited it the moment you gave it to somebody. Deposit is the same as a transfer. Payment is the same as a transfer, is the same as a deposit. It's you presenting, a presentment. All those words mean the same. Presentment, transfer, deposit, all those words mean I gave it to somebody. So an instrument is issued or transferred for value if the instrument is issued or transferred for a promise of performance. Meaning, if I gave you this document in exchange for a promise for you to do something, to the extent the promise has been performed, then that document has been issued and transferred for value and consideration, which means, check it out, y'all. I'm about to give you an example. And this is, when it comes to this example, I'm saying this example because it's going to be outlandish. It's going to be wild and crazy, but it's going to be a lawful transaction that, according to law, creates a financial instrument. It in stone valuates the instrument. Valuation occurs, acceptance occurs, consideration occurs, and once all of that stuff happens, nobody in the world could not say that that certain instrument is worth that amount. Do y'all understand? Evidence. You need evidence that certain documents is worth things, and then you can change. You can use that document for the value that you say it is. So let me give you an example.
Let me ask a
Real
quick
quick.
where you get an example. Does everybody
Okay.
understand what consideration is? Is there anybody that don't understand what consideration is? Because consideration is the most important thing when you're talking about contracts. And if you kind of think of the word consideration in the wrong context, you'll be never able to understand how it is applied here. Does anybody feel like they have a problem or they want consideration explained?
Yeah, we're gonna do it because I ain't even saying nothing about it. But real quick, consideration is an exchange of equal value, y'all. That's a general way to put it. Now let's read some definition. It means any consideration sufficient to support a contract. Okay, the drawer or maker of an instrument has a defense if the instrument is issued without consideration, which means if I issued you this document and I didn't get nothing in exchange for it, then there's an issue. It's not in support of a simple contract. If it's issued for a promise to perform something, you got a defense to the degree that the promise has not been performed. Which means if I take this document and I say, hey, this is $1 million in exchange for a promise that you give me a hug, right? And now I'm gonna give you this document in exchange for that hug. Now, if you gave me half a hug, then you gave me half a consideration. So that document is really worth $500,000. If you gave me a whole 100% hug, then that document in law is worth $1 million. You gave me valuable consideration. You're giving me exactly the amount of the promise that you promised. You understand? And this is extremely powerful when you want to create documents of value. They called assets. You want to create a whole bunch of assets. Well, maybe you create some papers, right, with your people, and you create some private contracts, and you say, hey, I promise to pay you $9 billion in exchange for a good 10-second hug. And you write that down, you get that hug, and you get a receipt. The hug was given, valuable consideration was given, and the document was exchanged for value and accepted for value. If he accept that document, that $9 billion document, then nobody in the world, no court in the world could say he ain't a $9 billionaire, $9 and billionaire worth of asset having motherfucker. You understand? Yeah, I'm gonna keep going. It's really some power in that. Credit. Credit is an important concept. We're gonna be flying through some of the last ones because the beginning is the power. you know, the power is in the understanding what the words mean. Credit is interesting. Look, credit, it came from a Latin word that means one believes. One believes. It's very interesting when y'all really research this shit. It comes from belief. And it is the trust which allows one party to provide money or resources to another party, wherein the second party does not reimburse the first party immediately, but promise either to repay or return those resources at a later date. Okay, it's really the right to offset payment for the future. But what did they put some shit here for you to really see how high level it is. It is the trust, y'all. It is the trust. Y'all see that? Anybody here? Is we still rocking and rolling?
Yes, sir.
I see it.
Yeah, we here. We here.
That might not say it.
Okay, they say credit is the trust. It's the actual trust. You know, in life, a lot of times, people in America, especially, have been noticing that some funny things happen with their bills once they put their bills in an actual trust, because they may want you to think that this word trust means some fuzzy feeling, right? But it doesn't. Credit is the actual trust. The trust does what? It allows one party to provide money to another party, where the second party does not have to reimburse the first party immediately. It sounds like a relationship. It is actually. You know what a trust is? They say it's the belief that another person to do something. But guess what? In law, that belief only comes with a contract when somebody becomes vulnerable to another party. You need a trustee. You see, they put it right here. It's a social science, y'all. Trust is a social science. Man, what the fuck is going on here, y'all? All of this shit is diabolical. Do you know what diabolical means? Diabolical is the characteristic of the devil. It's the characteristic of the devil. It's deceitful. This is some high-level deceitful ass shit. I mean, I thought they trying to tell us that credit is some money on the card, right, y'all? You feel me? It really is. It really is. But how does it get to that money on the card? Because you have to have a trust relationship. And we're going to get there. You got to have a trust relationship. You got to have a trustee. You got to have a trustor. Doesn't have control over the actions of the trustee. Okay, you got to have a grantor. And it's a social science. It's a relationship where one party is going to give a second party something to manage something on behalf of a third party. But this is what credit is. This is what credit is. It's a method of making reciprocity formal. Reciprocity formal. It's legally enforceable and extensible to a large group of unrelated people. Extensible to a large group of unrelated people. That means it's transferable. It's assignable to a whole bunch of other people. A lot of people can get the credit once it's documented. Let's get another diabolical reason, definition, man. The definition: credit is a right to not pay right now. I just Googled that shit, but trust me, man. It's the right. Where's this? Consumer financial protection definition. That's where I want to get y'all. I just went real kind of strange there, but check it out. I want you to see what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau defined credit as real quick before we move on, because this is some shit. Credit means the right. It's a right granted by the creditor to an applicant to defer payment of a debt, incurred debt, and defer its payment, or purchase property or services. Do y'all see that? Now, this right is granted by a creditor. We're going to get there real fast, okay? We about to get somewhere. UPC 600, y'all. We finna start going. We feel it ain't about going fast, but it's pretty much the code is cracked if you can really understand these basic terms. Now, the UCP 600, I switched a couple letters around, but this is important because this is a set of rules agreed by the International Chamber of Commerce, which apply to financial institutions which issue letters of credit. Letters of credit, y'all. They was describing a letter of credit when they was defining what credit is. It's a trust relationship. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, where we at with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau? Definition of credit real quick. Again, because we just got to understand how the basics of this shit, and then we can really not be tricked. A credit is a right granted by a creditor to an applicant. That means somebody had to apply. It's granted to a creditor by a creditor to an applicant so that the applicant can defer any payment of a debt. Remember, you ain't paying nothing anyway. You're gonna offset and discharge from this letter of credit, y'all, because everything's coming from these credit. I want y'all to see a letter of credit real quick, man, because sometimes we think this shit real deep, you feel me? But I just want to go real quick to a letter of credit real quick, y'all. Is y'all here with me?
Yeah, we're here.
Cool. Now, if you can see somebody create a letter of credit, remember, hey, it just said it's a creditor and a debtor. I want you to know anybody could be the creditor, anybody could be the debtor, anybody could create this letter of credit. There's no law to say you can't create it, y'all. Okay. Even though you typically see banks only creating them, you have to have a beneficiary. Remember, this is about a trust. Credit is trust. It's trust. Trust is a relationship when one party says they give some property to the party. Hey, I'm going to give you this to manage on behalf of somebody else. So I'm going to give you this right so you can manage on behalf of everybody you need to pay. That's a letter of credit. So this letter of credit is simply saying what? It's some applicant is applying. There's millions of reasons to apply. They establishing a revocable letter of credit for the account. We ain't getting to the words of account yet, but for the account of some person in the amount of some dollars. Okay, they're not telling you where this money coming from because it don't have to come from nowhere. Wink, wink. That's a whole nother conversation. But it's just a document. Okay, they saying we're gonna give you this in your favor for the account of whatever account it is, in the amount of whatever amount it is, effective immediately and available to you at sight upon demand. Those are just some terms, but these terms make it legal. At sight upon demand. Anytime something's payable on demand, is it a draft or a note? On demand is a draft. A note is a promise to pay. A draft is an order of pay. So they ordering somebody to pay something at sight upon demand. This is a draft instrument, y'all. It's money in the bank. By you at our counters. So it could be, they saying we gonna pay it at our counters. Right? And you can pay something with another promise to pay, but we don't want to get into that right now. We just letting you see it's just a contract. Expiring on a certain date. I ain't gonna get too deep into this. This letter of credit is issued at the request of the applicant. Remember, somebody had to apply for this shit to happen. So somebody has to apply, say, hey, man, I want to get some credit. And then the person say, hey, man, I'm going to extend you some credit. Who does not have the right to extend credit? Answer that question. Shit. Everybody got the right to extend some credit because credit is a trust. Everybody got the right to enter an agreement. Credit is a contract, y'all. Trust is an agreement, y'all. Trust is an agreement. So who has the right to extend credit? Anybody, if you understand what these words mean. And we hereby irrevocably authorize you to draw on us. Draw on us in accordance with the terms of that's in this document. So you could tell somebody how they're going to draw on you some value. Remember, we talked about value and valuation and assets and financial instruments in the past. You can have any type of financial instrument that you're drawing down the value from that instrument to pay off something else, y'all. That's what offset is. We talked about offset. You can draw down the value of a document to pay a debt. It's crazy. Up to the maximum amount of this letter of credit. So whatever amount this letter of credit got, that's how much credit the recipient has. Subject to the reduction in the paragraph 8, because they wanted to make it subject to that, all right? This letter of credit may be drawn by presenting the following documents. In this agreement, they tell them how you can draw it, okay? It's a contract. I ain't gonna get too deep. Demands presented by email, by fast email. You can demand something by fast email. You can demand something however they say you can. You may make any payment certificate and site draft under this letter of credit. You see, only you can make what? Look at this. This is teaching y'all what you can do with a letter of credit. You can make any payment certificate, any type of payment certificate you want to make. You can make under this letter of credit. And any type of site draft you want to make, you can make under this letter of credit. So if you get a letter of credit, you could create some other negotiable instruments like checks, like money orders. And those checks and those money orders could draw down from the value of this letter of credit.
Kevin,
Y'all feel me?
you think we can just give a real short example of this, of what we're doing right now? That way they can actually put some application to what we're doing.
We
just a summary.
We kind of could, but
We can do it later. It's fine. I was just thinking if just so they can
yeah,
understand.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. How about we just do something like I just want to keep it so simple, because sometimes when you show people examples, they think that that's the way to do something instead of realizing that it's infinite ways to do something. And that's what this conversation is about. So to show you why there's infinite ways of having some credit and infinite ways of paying something with that credit, let's just create another little blank screen real quick. And we're just going to understand these terms real quick. Remember value. You got to have some value, right? You document the value. Let's talk about what we learned. You have some value. You document the value. When you document some value, you have this thing called a financial instrument, right? When you want to prove to somebody that you really got some value, you secure your interest. Remember that. Now, remember, value is economical, right? Let's just look at these words real quick. Value is economical, right? Financial instrument is any document with any value, okay? Is any document. Just look how simple this stuff is. Sometimes you got to break it down so simple, because the reason why people are having trouble in the universe is because they think this shit is difficult. And if you can convince enough people that it's difficult, they won't even do this shit. Financial instrument, and they won't even uphold their laws. So financial instrument is any document with a number on it. How about we just put it like that? A dollar sign, a dollar amount on it. I mean, I really need them to know this. Okay. Now, a bona fide, like any document with a dollar amount on it is a financial instrument. Now, once traded for value, it equals registered money. Do y'all see? If you take a financial instrument and you trade it or exchange it for some value, and you document and you register that exchange, that piece of paper is registered money now. That's how you create money. You get some piece of paper and you put some value on it, and you get somebody to receive that for a service that you say the service is equal to the value of the document. So the service has to be equal to the value of the document. Okay? The value of the service has to be equal to the value of the service of the document. And remember, the value of anything is in stone once accepted for value, which means that service, because somebody paid you a document that was worth 100 million, it said it was worth 100 million. You said your service cost 100 million. Because they gave you that document that they said was worth 100 million, and you gave them the service, and everybody was happy, then now at that very moment, your service is worth 100 million, and that document is worth 100 million in law, because the value of your service was exchanged for the value of the document once presented. That's how you create value, register value, and it has to, nobody can say it ain't worth that. Okay, now let's talk about what this letter of credit was. We have to keep it simple, y'all. I ain't even trying to get too deep, because that's how this shit gets a little too complicated. Okay, so remember, a letter of credit is just somebody applied. They said, hey, I want to be able to not pay something right now, and I want to be able to offset that debt in the future. So they apply to a creditor, right? They simply applied to a creditor. Okay, as long as the creditor agrees to extend credit, remember, credit was a trust agreement. Now, in that letter of credit, you're going to see it's like a trust agreement. The creditor is the grantor. In a trust, you have three things. You have a grantor, you have a trustee, and you have a beneficiary. Okay, let's really break this shit down, because we could be writing letters of credit left and right, paying for shit left and right, never worry about shit ever fucking time, and motherfuckers need to get some balls and fucking uphold their rights. That's all, instead of hiding knowledge and acting like this shit is complicated. Ain't gonna save the world like that. We ain't here to save the world, but we damn near here to do something kind of like that. So you gotta apply to a creditor. The creditor gotta agree to extend the credit, which means they got to agree to enter into a trust agreement. That's all extension of credit. I will enter into a trust agreement. Okay. Now, I have to, as a creditor, you have to have some credit. You got to have something of value. You have to have the value that you're extending. How you get the value, y'all? Well, you got to do this. Documents, create some value, man. Create some financial instruments, y'all, and exchange them for some services. Hug is worth some money, or love. Hey, man, I give you $1 billion for some love for 10 minutes, man. All right, bro. All right, love. I love you. I love you too. I love you, sis. I love you, cuz. Boom, you documented. You signed the documents. I got my invoice and my motherfucking receipts, and we exchanged it for value. We have just created billions of dollars worth of registered money. Now we can take that registered money and use that as the document that we got the right to issue credit from. Now we get agreements with people that want some loans. Okay, it could be our family company we create, a family foundation applied to us to get some loans. We can take that money we created and draw down from it to issue letter of credit. So say we created that $1 billion worth of registered value. Hey, y'all, these are principles. Okay, let them go. Let your mind go wherever they want. And once you create that, that's the value that you can issue these letters of credit from. You can issue millions of dollars of letters of credit, hundreds of millions, billions, or thousands, or whatever, all backed by the value of the documents that you registered in exchange for value, and now you have. Okay, and as you can see, you can draw down from that letter of credit. So whoever you gave that letter of credit to, they now can issue these things called checks, money orders, and promissory notes. And these promissory notes could be backed by that letter of credit. Now, that's how money work, y'all. That's how money work. When you talk about account, where's your bank account? Man, listen, I'm trying to follow these steps, but it's all connected anyway. I'll run over those steps in a second. But when you talk about an account, it's like, what is the account? Remember, it's all accounting. What's the account from which you draw these funds from? So you can have an account that's just registered the value of that document. That document can have an account called Contract 1 account. Whatever. I don't want to get too deep. But it's infinite. However your mind think, y'all. You can draw checks, money orders, and promissory notes. Let's Google the word checks, money orders, and promissory notes just to see the definition real quick, because the code is really cracked whether you know it or not. We're going to go to the future with these next slides, but please find out what these words mean, checks, money orders, and promissory notes, because right here in this letter of credit, where is it at? We was just reading the letter of credit, and it says that in this letter of credit, you can make any payment certificate. That's a certificate of payment, y'all, or any site draft under this credit. So you can use this as an account to pay shit off. Okay? Checks. Look, checks right here, as they telling you. The most common types of negotiable instruments are personal, cashier, traveler checks, money orders, promissory notes, and CDs. These are negotiable instruments, y'all. Negotiable instruments are what? It's telling you a negotiable instrument is a signed document that promises to pay a specific person. That's all, man. It's just a piece of paper that's promising to pay. It's not payment. And you got the right to give somebody your own private drafted fucking document, don't you? Fucking shit. I'm only saying this shit because they got us out here running around like we poor and shit, man. You got a right to create some pieces of paper, man. That's what the fuck this shit is about. Creating some pieces of paper. That's all these things is, man. They try to confuse you with all these damn words. Let's just keep going because this shit is over. Even though we only at 9. Transferability and assignment, it gets into play now. You can transfer and assign any amount of this value that you want, y'all. So when you have these documents, these security documents, these letters of credits, you feel me? You the person who got the right to them, then you could assign and transfer the value by using these things called checks, money orders, promissory notes. You assign the value. You basically transferring the value. You're going to give somebody value, a third-party beneficiary, which means if somebody, now you want to get something from somebody, right? You got this paper, it's worth some money, right? You got a letter of credit, it's worth some money. You want to buy something from somebody, some cookie, candy, house, car, clothes, food. Technically, all you got to technically do is give them a piece of paper that's drawn down from another piece of paper, y'all. You hear it? Shit. This is the revolution when people learn how to enforce these rights. All right, let's keep going. Okay, transferability and assignment. Things are transferable and assigned. All your value that you have, all your security rights are transferable and assignment as long as the agreement, you get an agreement to transfer them. What's methods of transferring an assignment? Well, one method is issuing up your own personal checks, your own personal private checks, your own private bills of exchange. And it sounds like, oh, I got to be a bank to do that. Well, banking in many definitions is any person engaged in the business of banking. I'm telling you, the definition of bank is any person engaged in the business of banking. Now, I'm just doing this to see where they're going to respect this term. Okay, here it go. Even USC showing you that bank is, the term bank means any person that's located in the state and engaged in the business of banking. It includes. It does not say these are the only things. It simply says it includes any depository institution, any Federal Reserve Bank, any federal loan bank, all of these motherfuckers. But hey, I'm here to tell you, has your mama ever gave you some dollars and told you to go to the store and buy something? Sometimes you got to keep it that simple because that's banking, y'all. You was banking then, you was banking now. You've been banking since banking been banking. You're not a licensed bank because you don't need a license. We're going to get into that later. Methods of assignment and payment. One of the major methods is checks, right? Accounts, right? Bills of exchange. A lot of times when people are trying to assign value, you want to do a UCC assignment as well. Let's just do this. Because when you have a secured interest in something, you can file a UCC1, y'all. That's defining your interest in a collateral that has been put up under a loan. Sometimes you got to get that agreement creatively, because if you think about it, you just need that agreement to be able to have UCC secured interest, which we talked about. Now, when you have that interest, you document the value of that interest in economic value based upon your valuation formula, whichever one you chose, and it could have been your perceived value. That's your valuation method. Well, my valuation method that we're going to privately adopt is whatever my perceived value is the value of that asset. I'm here to tell you, if you documented that was your policy evaluation, then that is your policy evaluation. You understand? Ain't no law against it. Now, UCC3 is used as a way to amend a filing so that you could edit the details or assign your interest to another secured party for a lien. You can assign a partial interest. They have economic value in this interest. So you basically create a document where you say, hey, I got that filing. I want to send 10,000 of this value to the car company. You understand? Or 10,000 to my cousin. You understand? That's assignment of value is a way of making payment, y'all. And payment is also the presentation of any negotiable instrument. Remember these negotiable instruments. Presentment for acceptance or payment may be made to a duly authorized agent of the drawee, maker, or acceptor, y'all. These are based on these negotiable instrument acts. Once you get deep into those, y'all going to start to see, man, me having paperwork and knowing where to give them and how to give it, that's all banking is, man. So presentment for acceptance or payment may be made to anybody who's an authorized agent of a drawee, maker, or acceptor. You want to learn these terms when you start reading about negotiable instruments acts. But drawee, maker, and acceptor definition, y'all. Once you know this stuff, you're going to start to see checks, bills of exchange, money orders. All this shit is the same, man. Acceptor, a drawee who has accepted a draft. Drawee is a person ordered in a draft to make payment. Remember, draft was what? An order to pay, not a promise to pay. Okay? Drawer, a person who signs or is identified in the draft as a person ordering payment. Good faith, when you do something in good faith, y'all. They deleted it, but I'm telling you, man, that's the only thing that can make sure that you're not doing nothing illegal. Good when you're handling stuff in good faith and in honor. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. Definition real quick. Well, good faith means honestly in fact, in conduct or transaction concerned. Honor you honor a letter of credit means performance of the issuer's undertaking in the letter of credit to pay or deliver an item of value. So remember, whoever issued the letter of credit has the responsibility to pay on behalf of the debtor whenever presented with a draft. That draft will be issued by the debtor. You get a letter of credit, the person who got the letter of credit, they can issue whatever the fuck type of documents they want as payment that's drawn by that letter of credit. Whoever gets that check or that promissory note or whatever draft or note issued by the person who got that letter of credit has the right to get payment from the creditor. But remember, the creditor can honor that by simply assigning some value from a UCC statement, right? Or sending them another negotiable instrument and paying on behalf of the debtor. It's all a game, man. It's a diabolical, evil-ass game of value. It's a diabolical game of value. Gotta keep on showing you, Muggs, that this is characteristics of the devil. The whole system is characteristics of the devil. It's diabolical because think about it. If all this, anybody in their mind could just perceive value and send it, everybody should be able to pay something without even needing a piece of paper. You technically can, because word is bond, right? You just gotta have some systems that respect that. But we're gonna talk about that later. We're gonna kind of fly through because it's pretty much over. We went over a letter of credit. We found out what letters of credit is, even though it don't seem like it's over. Transfer agents. Transfer agents is the only people we dealing with when we give them our negotiable instruments. When we give somebody our negotiable instruments to do something for us, they are a transfer agent. Y'all, that could be our trustee or a bank or a securities agent, but that's all they are. They are financial service companies that manages and keeps track of registered shareholders of companies that issue stock. That's one. They keep ownership of and manage track of federal registered shareholders, but they also they can transfer documents too. So let's look here. The term transfer agent in the SEC means any person who engaged on behalf of an issuer of securities. So any person who does anything for somebody who creates pieces of paper that's worth money. Do y'all hear me?
Yes.
Anybody who does anything for somebody who create pieces of paper worth money is a transfer agent, y'all. It ain't got to be that deep, but these are banks and securities agents. They're just transfer agents. They just doing stuff for people who got paper that's worth money, and you got paper worth money. You tell them what to do with that paper worth money, how much value to exchange. Once you understand the laws. Okay, girl said she tried reaching out, but she guessed I blocked her. Yeah, I'm blocking people in 2024. Anyway, accounting 101. No, she ain't do nothing to offend me, man. I'm just on some other shit. Accounting 101, y'all. This is all accounting 101. It's all I'm trying to tell y'all. Accounting 101. That's what money is. Learn about accounting. If you even just Google accounting 101 and get you some accounting courses popping, you're going to be a money master. You might want to get a, T accounting 101.pdf. They got any basic fucking books on T accounting? You're gonna start to know how money works if you just start learning about accounting. Accounting 101, man. That's all money is, man. If you learn money, if you know about accounting 101 and you really just realize this is real and you read the words that we've just been discussing and you try your best not to complicate it, you will end up mastering shit. Okay, debits always equal credits. Increases do not necessarily equal decreases. Assets minus liabilities equals owner's equity. These are some basic ass accounts, but charts of accounts. I mean, everything is an account: bank account, security account, You understand? Stockbrokers account, insurance account, fidelity account. You understand what I'm saying? 401k accounts. It's all accounts. And you can account for anything you want to on a piece of paper, man. You don't need that much shit. I'm just saying, man. They try to make it look difficult. Profit and loss statements, balance statements. Nah, man, I want basic T accounts. Here you go. You master T accounts and double entry accounting, and you basically mastered the financial system. That's a fact, Jack. If you mastered T accounts and double book entry accounting, can't nobody tell you shit about money no more. You'll always be able to prove value. You'll always be able to balance your books. You'll always be able to, stand firm on whatever the fuck you saying You'll always be able to show them based upon my accounting. This is the value of this, and this was exchanged, and this was presented, and based upon my accounting policy, you owe me X, Y, and Z. And you better pay. Whatever. You want to enforce some shit, we're going to get into that later. But anyway, I recommend people get into accounting books. I recommend you get into just college accounting books, and just don't be scared. And I'm doing this just to show y'all how easy it is. Just Google Principles of Financial Accounting, College Accounting 101, man. I think you just want to get into that. You just want to go online and you don't want to trip too hard and you really want to get the basics. You don't even need the advanced shit to master money. You really don't. If you get into accrual accounting, you're going to be a bad motherfucker because with accrual accounting, man, if somebody owe you money today in your books, you got that money today. You really got that money today and you can register it like income. Or if somebody owe you money today, you can register it. If you promise to pay somebody today, even if you promise to pay them 5 years from now, it's just like you paid them today in accrual accounting. And you can create your own accounting methods, y'all. You don't have to follow nobody accounting methods. And that's when it gets gangster. But we don't go that far. Accounting systems and accounts is all we dealing with. We're dealing with banking systems and bank accounts and different systems in the world. You either got a private system or a public system. Remember, people do not have to let you in their private systems. And most of these things are private systems. And that's why we're having a lot of problems, because we're trying to force our way into people accounting systems and they don't respect our value. You understand? That's the rules of this shit. You're trying to force your value into somebody's system who don't respect your value. You're going to have a hard fucking time doing business with them. And that's the fact, Jack. Banks are value transfer agents. We went over that. International systems of value registration. There's many systems where you can register your value, Now, when it comes to this internationally, okay, you guys want to know that you have securities identification numbers that are assigned international security identification numbers, ISIN numbers. Because remember, securities are documents that's worth value, y'all. Let's really keep it that simple. And you have private organizations that be issuing these custom numbers to register these securities. Or you got private organizations and public organizations that issue these ISIN numbers. You understand what I'm saying? Now, these ISIN and custom numbers are issued by national numbering agencies. Every country has a national numbering agency which follows a set of rules that's issued by the organization. And let's just get to this real quick, because a lot of times our problem, let's just be real, our problem in money don't be if we got the ability to have some documents worth some money. Our problem a lot of times be, do we have access to national numbering agencies and accounting systems that's going to respect our value and receive our documents, okay? And if and when they don't, do we know what to do? Right? So I just want y'all to start researching national numbering agencies. You can do that on your own. I'm gonna. Who is the organization that issues ISIN numbers laws? Okay, there's a. Let me see if I can get this organization real quick because this is a bad way to try to find it. But here we go. ISIN.org, y'all. I mean, it's not a bad way, it's just strange. So ISIN.org is a place that helps you issue ISIN numbers. You know, you have different types of membership capabilities with this organization. You can gain access to their database, you can purchase your own ISIN profiles. So typically banks and countries issue their ISINs, they create national numbering agencies, but at the same time, any self-regulatory organization or tribe could start their own national numbering agency and follow the rules and regulations and be issuing their own numbers, y'all. Because you got private value systems and public value systems. A public value system is a value system that's created for the benefit of the public. And the public is typically individuals and organizations that are under the jurisdiction of a government. Let's do that public definition one more time, y'all. Of or concerning the people as a whole. Now, it's typically the people as it relates to communities, y'all. There'll be public communities. And to have a community, you have to have what's called a social compact. Let's just put this simple because people got to realize this shit ain't rocket science. When you have a social compact, this is any implicit, means it's written, it's specific, it's not arbitrary. Actual is not like assumed. It's a real implicit agreement between the government and its people on the roles and responsibility that they play. When you have a social compact, only a group of people inside of a social compact could have this thing called sovereignty. It's going to get a little deep here, y'all, because a lot of the problems that people facing is that you're trying to force your value in systems that don't respect your value. And maybe you need to be dealing as a sovereign with organizations and people that respect your supremacy and your supreme power. So sovereignty is the authority of a state to govern itself and another state, okay? Or another state. You have to have some authority to govern a state or another state in order to have a national numbering agency, in order to get some rights where you don't have to go to a third party for your accounting systems and shit. Okay. And I'm just going to say you're going to have to follow the law of nations, whether you're a tribe, a country, or anything. As long as you know the law of nations, you can actually operate as a nation, as a tribe. And then you can start to actually do some shit, man. That's all I gotta say. Y'all can study this by yourself. I'm just giving you some cookie crumbs right now. I'm giving you some cookie crumbs where you can actually look. This is the actual law of nations. If it's not, I saw another link that's gonna break it wide open. These are principles. Remember, at the top, we're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but principalities, evil and wicked principles and wicked places. You understand? Principles. And it ain't nothing but principles that runs the world. So nation is a principle. Credit, y'all saw credit, and trust is a social science. But this is the relationship from which all money is flowing. It's a science of society. They got us thinking that economics is an actual tangible asset dealing with commodities when it's not. Okay, we're starting to see here that this shit ain't what it seems. Where we at? I definitely just clicked the button and left wherever point I was just on. I think this is it. Yeah, Law of Nations is loading up. I just want y'all to see, man, that all of this shit is connected. You get the most power once you come in your right personal jurisdiction and you start to utilize these laws, set up your own accounting systems. Because even when you have your own accounting systems, you can register them with any government and they will respect your accounts in a different way. If y'all want to get into some power principles, you want to do this. Law of nations is basically principles that's the same as the law of nature when you apply it to the conduct and affairs of people that are called nations and sovereigns. So when you take the law of nature, which is a cosmic principle, and you apply it to the affairs of nations and sovereigns, remember, nations are groups of people that came together for specific purposes and they have rules, and sovereigns are those tribes and or the individuals that's the head of the nation that has the power of to act on behalf of the nation, or the fiduciary of the nation. So y'all can check that out, man. I ain't gonna get too deep into that, but that'll be how you start to create your public value system. You feel me? You gotta have some type of system. Now, system interoperability, that's what we searching for when it comes to, hey, say we got all of our private systems, we got our private money, we want this to get into the banking system, we want this to get into the Visa, MasterCard, or we want this to get into all these other systems. Well, all you really need to know, y'all, is y'all need to learn what code does the system operate. And I'm not going to Google this because that's not how you do it. But you want to know what code does the system that you wish your value to enter into, what's the code that it uses to operate? And I'm here to bust the bubble of a lot of people and just let you know that ISO 20022 is a system, right? Let's talk about this. ISO 20022 is a standardized system now internationally for transmitting information as it relates to financial services and financial documents, y'all. It's basically the way that you get to code your information so that it can be able to be implemented into most systems of the world. Y'all have to know that, and the power of a system is based on its connectivity to other systems. The more connected your system is, the more powerful your system. So if you, though you got the right to create your own system, when your system becomes interoperability, or it has the ability to interact with other systems because it is utilizing the same code as those other systems, now you have a powerful system where your value could easily go into other people's systems. And I'm here to tell you that ISO 20022 is the set of codes that is offered by the SWIFT standard team. And if you want to know about SWIFT, SWIFT is the organization that issues codes, the codes of codes. Let me call it the agency for the codes of codes, y'all. let me talk about this, man, real quick. So SWIFT is the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial, I think transformation, or telecommunication. Shit, I was gonna miss it. Okay, so yes, Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. So basically, what SWIFT does, SWIFT is the one who create codes that's accepted throughout the world for different things, man. They got codes for payment solutions. They got codes for how you create stocks, bonds, how you register the numbers, because it's all a system like the Matrix. And you want to know what codes are they utilizing? Well, SWIFT is the agency that oversees codes in various areas of business. For instance, let's look at their standards. They got ISO 20022 standard, right, which has a handbook and has a code. I'm here to tell you that ISO 20022 is XML language. It's an XML language that you use to send messages of value. I don't want to get too deep, but this is really deep conversation. ISO 20022 is the codes that you utilize when you're sending security settlements, asset servicing, and you want to see which countries Which countries adopted ISO 20022? Well, globally, 70 plus countries are already using ISO 20022 in their domestic payment systems. Okay, these new cryptocurrencies that's booming, they only booming, the real ones, because they are written in ISO 20022, like XMP or XRP or them types of tokens. They basically are using the same language, like HTML is a language, y'all. We're getting a little deep here, but HTML is a language. JavaScript is a language. ISO 20022 is a XML language. It's a way to write XML language in order to communicate financial transactions and value transactions. You fuck around and learn this, you are Neo. When it comes to money, you are Neo. When it comes to money. And I'm here to tell you that it's not that hard to find out where these codes are, because you can literally see them. I'm just gonna just do this and then we can move on. Example of ISO 20022 codes. They are external code sets. Okay, here you go. They may use internal or external code sets. You can create your own code sets, y'all. But these are external code sets, bank transaction code combinations and descriptions. I don't want to get too deep, but the world's best hackers in the world, if they got this information, it's over. Also, the greatest people in the world, you know, who just doing holistic, great value transactions, you get this information, it's over. I don't want to get too deep. Y'all can start looking. It's going to get gangster, okay? But this is just to let you guys know.
I just add a little bit. Just you use the Swift and these codes every day. Like you just don't really talk about it. Like if you send a wire from your bank to another bank, you're sending a Swift code, and it's called a MT 103. And there's basically a code for everything that you do with banking, and you just don't know that this is happening in the background. But this is the language that they speak in.
Facts, without a shadow of a doubt. And it's really not that hard to get it. And here you go, y'all. And this, I'm just showing you guys here. See, I'm showing y'all this. See, because if you wanted to create your own, wink, wink, if you wanted to create your own international banking system and you want to have your own right to create it, where you start your own tribe, and now you got your own social compact, now you got the right to do whatever the fuck your duties require of you. You can start your own central bank systems, have your own banking licenses, health license, whatever from your own tribe. You could do that, your own foreign place. And then if you wanted to make sure that your money system was compatible with other international banks, then you would simply do this. Because, man, the codes is right here in your fucking face. And I got to say it like that. This ain't no fucking joke. I got to say it like that, too. Because if you want to learn about account management codes, like when you're managing account and you want to send some information about managing your account, these are the actual ID schemes, the message names. I don't want to get too deep, but man, you fuck around and learn this, and you're Neo. That's all I'm here to tell you. You're fucking Neo. Administering accounts, you want to send that information to any bank, authorities, and who has the authority for what. You want to send that information to any bank. These are the codes. These are the they give you the actual codes. I don't want to get into that, but if you download that, you will understand what I'm saying here, fellas. It's like a cheat sheet. Accepting or acquiring card transactions. Like if you create your own credit cards and you want to make sure that your transactions are right. I mean, first off, I just want everybody to know credit cards ain't nothing but plastic and a magnetic strip. And then you get to program the information on there. And the information is a code, HTML, XML, actually, if you're using ISO 20022. I mean, this shit is fucking diabolical when you start to realize that anybody could do this shit. All right? Anybody. Card administration, these are codes for that. When you're managing an ATM and you want to make sure that messaging can be communicated to any other banking system, you're going to use these codes. You collecting fees, you want to use these codes. You're managing a file, you want to use these codes. These are the IDs to the code is the code scheme, the name of the type of message, and who's submitting organization. You want to do a fraud report, acquire or issue card transaction? Acquirer or issuer is a transaction for a card. You want to do some authorizations, some responses, some financial initiation. You see, reversing the response, retrieval. I don't want to get too deep, but we have to. Chargeback response. This shit ain't rocket science, y'all. You managing some cash. You want to get the account, return an account, get a transaction, modify a transaction, get a limit. This is all accounting. And these codes are issued by SWIFT. If you can see here, these are people who submitted to the organization the code. And once it gets accepted, these codes get respected by all of the signatory countries and all of their financial institutions. So America just went to the standard. BRICS uses the standard. Your enemies use the standard and you use the standard. And I'm just saying that for countries. Okay. Sale and point of a card transaction, settlement reporting, ATM card, collateral management, foreign exchange trade, payment, clearing, and settlement. Ain't this some shit? Ain't this what everybody trying to do? Everybody trying to pay some shit, make sure it gets cleared and settled, right? Well, here goes the codes for that. And these codes are when you're doing things electronically. If you want to create your own electronic system that actually starts to work with the NACHA system, or works with SWIFT banks. You understand? International banks. You want to make sure that these trust companies get your payments and don't play with you. I did it with ISO 222 compatible standards. I sent you the XML compliant code, remittance advice, security and clearing, security events. I'm going over this, y'all, for a reason. If I spend a long time on it, hey, it's a reason. You go to the second page, and ain't shit there. Loans, oh yeah, there's security events, security management, security settlement. Remember, securities, any document is showing value of something. Man, this is some gangster shit. I'm moving on. But just know you guys just entered the fucking portal if you go there. Shit's crazy, man. Shit becomes interoperable once these systems start to see, even though you might be sovereign and shit, right? But your system, you want it to connect to other systems so that you can have the benefit that shit comes with. So that's why all these countries be entering treaties and international organizations. All right, I didn't want to go here, but I'm gonna go here real quick. Edmund Group, is it the Edmund Group? Edmund. I don't know if this don't pop up the first time, I'm gonna keep moving. But I just wanted to show y'all who's the head of the financial world.
I think it's EG or EG Egmont Group or. You just sent it to us in the other group, right?
Yeah. Egmont Group. So at the end of the day, y'all just do your own research on the Egmont Group. But the way the world works is you have all these different countries. Every country has a revenue agency. Revenue agencies, they also have treasury agencies, and they also have security agencies. These security agencies, these financial agencies, these banking agencies, revenue agencies, and treasury agencies all have regulations, but they are all part of international organizations. So if you have like an international association of securities regulators or something, right? What y'all gonna learn is that you're gonna have an international association of everything. So you got an international organization of security commission. So all of the security agencies of the world, different countries, they come together to make sure all their rules and regulations is symbiotic, so they shit could be interoperable. Okay, it's the same with banking and everything. And at the top, you got the fucking Egmont Group. They're the financial intelligence units. They are in charge of financial intelligence sharing. Okay, not only that, but if they fucking if they devalue you, your whole country devalued. Y'all can do some research on them. Okay, they got a membership organization, and it's the cornerstone of international efforts to counter money laundering, terrorist financing, and associated predicate offenses. This becomes important because power is of a system is in the hands of the regulators. Y'all hear me? You can have a system, you can be a sovereign, but once you set up a regulator for your sovereignty, then that regulator regulates your sovereignty. And most countries, sovereign countries, created regulation organizations that regulate different aspects of their businesses. And above those regulators then enter into a societies, internationals, where those international organizations start to create treaties where all those societies are held accountable. And when you go to regulating a system, the regulators have the power over the system. Then you get an association of regulators that got to follow the association. You see, and at the top is just the Edmund group. They over the Vatican and everybody. Don't even fucking lie to yourselves, or whoever then told you that other shit, they just didn't know. Trust me, do your research later. I ain't even gonna go too deep into this. But if you're thinking about the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, the SEC, or any of these agencies, they all, I ain't gonna say the FBI because that's not, well, yeah, there's intelligence. Any intelligence when it comes to finance, Edmund Group is at the top. Just know that. They running shit. That's all I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna keep going. Negotiable instruments, law enforcement. Well, anybody who has the power to enforce negotiable instruments is a negotiable instrument law enforcer. So when you think about people like the FDIC, they can enforce some instruments, rights. The SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, right? You can do some violations with them. The FTC of America, you know, Federal Trade Commission. Every country got many of these motherfuckers. You feel what I'm saying? Many organizations that commodities, Future Trading Commission, they govern some negotiable instruments. Remember, there's so many types of negotiable instruments that shit, the Supreme Court governs some, because you can sue a motherfucker in the Supreme Court, you can sue them in the federal court, you can sue them in local court. All of these courts are negotiable instrument enforcers. That's the whole point of court. That's what we're gonna learn someday. Court ain't about nothing but negotiating, but negotiable instrument enforcement, y'all. Even maritime courts. All of these courts. You ain't got no court if you don't have a duty to uphold some laws. You don't have no laws unless you have a contract, social compact. You don't have a social compact unless you have a trust, a relationship where something is happening for the benefit of others. And all of this, courts exercise their jurisdiction over whatever contracts they have jurisdiction over, y'all. Whatever injuries and offenses happen due to those contracts, those negotiable instruments. So that's all I'm here to say. You got ecclesiastical courts. Ecclesiastical courts they usually consider Christian courts or court spiritual, but at the end of the day, any religious organization can have an ecclesiastical court. It's a court that upholds religious and spiritual law, even Sharia law, right? Shit, those are, man, don't get it twisted. Don't get it fucked up. Now, today's terrorist is tomorrow's motherfucking sovereign nation. Let's just put it like that. Yesterday's terrorist is today's sovereign nation. And it's proof all over the world. Shit, that's just how it's been going, right? All these terrorist organizations, they claim them that they were terrorists, but they were forming their own right to operate under their own religious laws. That's the actual truth, fellas. And even Sharia, there's so many countries, including Saudi Arabia, countries that's not on terrorist list, and Sharia. This is just an example of a body of religious laws that forms part of the tradition and is accepted by many countries, right? And we ain't got to go too deep because the Vatican laws. If you think about any country who has let me just put it like this, Minister of Defense. Any country who got a Minister of Defense, where does the word minister come from, y'all?
Church.
Church, preach. All this shit is based on some church shit. That ain't no joke. Minister of Justice. They getting these are freedom rights. These are religious freedom rights. remember, religion, we're gonna go to the definition of religion again so y'all can really, so we can really crack this code. Minister of justice, any country with a minister of justice is operating under some religious freedoms. Now let's talk about religion, the definition, because a lot of people got it fucked up. Let's just go, because it's kind of simple. When you keep it simple, you get it. It's any particular system of faith. Any particular system of faith. It's also belief, okay? Belief itself, religious belief. Religious freedoms also carry with it the right to believe something and act like you believe it. Oh. I'm telling y'all, this shit gets deep. Can we get to a real definition of this? Well, I'm just going to American Bar Association. Let's just see what they're saying, even though they just see an association. I don't want to get too deep in that. But I don't want to get too deep into this shit real quick. But nah, I ain't gonna get too deep into this, y'all. But just do some research on the word religion and religious freedom. It's not just about a church freedom or right to be part of a religious group. It's also the right to believe something and the right to act like you believe that certain thing, y'all. It's the right to entertain certain beliefs, y'all. A belief. I believe this. I believe this. I believe that, right? So we got all these truths and these basic laws so we can create some rights to believe however we believe and act in accordance to that and start enforcing some of our laws. Revenue services, these are basically departments in countries that are in charge of managing the income, the compensation, and the wages that are happening within that certain jurisdiction. Trust me, you got to read the revenue code, the IRS revenue code, to really understand who they are, because they're not who they seem. Treasury services. Treasury services, literally the agency and department and a company or a ministry that's managing the accounting of negotiable instruments. That's really how we gonna put it, y'all. I ain't gonna even make it that deep. If you look at the word treasury definition, because they try to make it seem so complicated. It's basically the funds of a government or of an institution or of a corporation. Remember, well, they ain't trying to tell you, you know, funds means negotiable instruments, so we ain't gonna go into that no more. We ain't gonna go into that too deep because all these things are synonyms, but I think we get in it. We seeing how these are just terms and principles. Fund is a sum of money saved or made available. It could be a sum of money made available for a particular purpose. And remember, the word money is anything that we use as a medium of exchange. So funds is the economic value of anything that you use as a medium of exchange, and you make that available for any particular purpose. Did y'all hear that? It was a whole bunch of anythings and any particular purpose and any things and any type of shit. You hear me? It ain't no joke, man. This shit is wide open. The financial world is wide open, man. It's really wide open. Let's keep going. Treasury services, man. So now you're going to be providing some services for funds, you know, which is anything. We just seen funds is the sum of some money, the sum of anything that's acceptable for value, that's set aside or saved, or made available for any type of purchase. I mean, any particular purpose, for any particular purpose, man. Financial crimes enforcement, we really went through that a lot. One organization I did want y'all to know about here is FinCEN. Because at the end of the day, you want to start learning how to use these agencies and organizations. Let me tell you the power of using agencies and organizations. Once you guys learn negotiable instruments and value, and you learned it now, and you know what this means and credit and what it means, and you get ready to start enforcing some of your rights, and these companies and agencies don't be treating you right, all you have to do, well, technically, theoretically, all you have to do is holler at the organizations and individuals which regulate those companies and let them know which laws the people that they regulate have broken so that you can get what's called remedy. You want to get legal remedy. And sometimes you got to get a lot of legal remedy, which is judicial relief or any type of relief, really, that's typically come through a court as you exercising your rights. You basically want to get rights. You want to get your shit. You want to enforce your rights. When you want to enforce your rights, you mean you need to get some remedy. You've been damaged. You want to get a declaratory judgment. You want to get the courts to say that you got the right to something. Because a lot of people don't be respecting your negotiable instruments in this world, y'all. That's the fucking truth. Cestui Que Vie Act of 1666. Now, this was important because the beginning of a lot of this bullshit, disrespect, happened way before the end, but got set in stone during the Cestui Que Vie Act of 1666. And this how small this act is that did a lot of damage is right here. This is editorial information, so it's only this right here. But I'm telling you, if you study this, this is going to open a cookie. This will open Pandora's box and a whole fucking rabbit hole that will take you all over the world. Will really crack some heads, especially start researching what these words mean, like leasers and reversioners. And you start to learn about what was happening around 1666, 1600, 1663, 1650, 1670. You start to see all the bullshit that happened right around those years all over UK and American law and ancient India law, man. A lot of shit's going to be cracked wide open, man. I'm telling you, this shit gets deep. But let's see what happens. It's a recital that Cestui Que Vies have gone beyond sea. What is Cestui Que Vies? Hey, y'all, I like to Google. I believe it means any living person, but let's just see. Cestui Que Vie is a French word for he who lives. Y'all see that? Cestui Que Vie is a French word that means he who lives. Shit's about to get a little, like I said, this shit is diabolical. And I keep on going to the definition because I mean it. This shit is characteristic of the devil. But let's just see. This is a recital. This Cestui Que Vie Act of 1666 is a recital that living people have gone beyond the sea and that revisioners cannot find out whether they are dead or alive. So let's see who was trying to find out whether these people was dead or alive. Reversioners. Who is a fucking reversioner? Yeah, they are diabolical reversioners, but let's just see who they are. What does reversioner mean?
They want to take
One who's entitled. What's up?
They want to take some property back, waiting for you to die.
Well, that's what they want to do. They want to act like you died, but what they really are is, bro, they really somebody who has a right in a future asset. They got right in an asset. So what was happening, I don't want to get too deep. What was happening in the world is around the Holy Roman Empire, when black people ran the world, we ran France, all those original European places before the Khazars, or we can call them the fucking ancient Turks, white people north of the fucking Caucasus Mountains, white people north of the Caucasus Mountains that was in the middle of the Silk. Y'all know about the Silk Road. They was in the middle of the Silk Road. White people north of the Caucasus Mountains, right? Long story short, a lot of these people got kicked out by Russia because they was taking a whole bunch of people identities from the East India who was traveling to West India to have a business. They was raping them, pillaging them, taking their identities. A whole bunch of real shit like that started happening. Russia ran them out of motherfucking ancient Turkey. You could do your research on that. Long story short, they start to run towards Europe. They started in Austria. Remember, at this time, Holy Roman Empire was all black people, all black families. We ran all the royal crest. But these are a group of people who start to learn how to take people's identity and rape and pillage and do a bunch of evil shit in the middle of the Silk Road. Once they got kicked out of Turkey in Russia because they was trying to trample onto Russia land. Russia kicked them out. They start to go. The first place they landed was Austria. Long story short, they was in Austria. They start to do the same shit, which is legacy theft, identity theft. They start to do legacy theft, identity theft, fucking kidnapping, and fucking taking the identity of whole families, y'all. And they start doing this throughout the Holy Roman Empire and start to try to take people's crests. During this time, we always had slavery, so we was doing indentured servitude, and a lot of them operated as spies. So they creep up into people's businesses. And long story short, we start having mulattoes because a lot of black people start to have babies with our white slaves. This is the original story. Black people enslaved whites from the northern Turkey before whites enslaved them. And we enslaved them throughout the Mediterranean. This is just the facts. I ain't going to go through all this. Y'all got to go through a whole bunch of other stories. But what starts to happen is within our families and external to our families, the royal black families, we were giving people the right to manage properties for us. We started common courts and stuff that was underneath the parliamentary courts. And these common courts and these trustees, we started putting properties into trust to be managed on our behalf for our beneficiaries by trustees, by people that just manage the shit on behalf of us, right? So they had the right to manage some shit, but it was for the benefit of our beneficiaries. And during this time, a lot of wars was going on because there was a lot of wars during this time. So a lot of the heads of the households or the barons, the ancient ones who was the noble families, we would travel overseas to protect some of the lands in the fights that was going on throughout the world, man. As the Holy Roman Empire and the ancient Holy German Empire was a whole bunch of black people, start to get a little bit, dispersed. And we had the properties in the hands of our reversioners who were black, white, yellow, and green people who we put in charge of managing shit. But these people start to get a lot thirsty because, they got the keys to everything while we overseas, y'all, handling business and having wars and doing a whole bunch of shit. So they getting thirsty, and they said that they can't find whether the real living people are alive or not no more. We don't know if they dead or alive. So the diverse lords of manors and others have granted the estates by lease. So the lords of manors is the people who ran the shit, right? The holy families and the original holy people, holy nobles. We've granted the estates by lease. So we let people lease it as we left it behind and let people handle business for us as we left it behind for one or more life or lives, right? Or else for years, determinable upon one or more life or lives. Because really, we were doing slavery. The black people were doing slavery. I don't want to get too deep into it. Indentured servitude before others. And really, people would mortgage their lives in order to receive property. And that's the beginning of real slavery, when people would put their lives up as the collateral in these agreements. When you really do research, you're going to realize that slavery was a mortgage agreement in which individuals could put their bodies up as collateral in exchange for rights. That's the fucking truth. It was voluntarily first off, and then it started to become forceful as other people start to really take identities. I don't want to get too deep into that. But long story short, this agreement says we believe these motherfuckers dead. The people who gave us the properties, we don't know if they dead or not. So right now, what we want to do is we want to keep the right because we think they dead. That's basically what this says. Okay. And for many years, the leases and revisioners, we can't find out whether they are dead or alive, right? For many years, upon us state, they don't know if they dead or alive, what? So we have brought actions for the recovery of their tenements, have been put up to prove the death of their tenements when it is almost impossible for them to discover the same. So basically for remedy, they trying to get remedy. Who trying to get remedy? People who have leased the property or who managing the properties of these wealthy families, they want relief for the mischief that frequently happen. So long story short, what's happened is they say that they're going to treat these people like they dead. If such persons for whom life or estates have been or shall be granted shall remain beyond sea or elsewhere, absent themselves in this realm by a space of 7 years together. They said if they gone for 7 years and no sufficient evidence has been made that they are alive or their beneficiaries are alive, okay, for their estates, okay, dependent shall be accounted as naturally dead. They say if after 7 years these motherfuckers don't prove that they're alive, everything in their estates is ours, and everybody, all their beneficiaries, they dead. And every action brought for the recovery of the sentiments by the leasers or revisioners, their heirs or assignees, the judges perform. So now they basically took all the shit from the wealthy, noble, Holy Roman Empire families who really ran this shit, and they take it into their possession and the possession of their heirs and their assignees. This is the same, bro. Let me tell you that the governors of the world, the governments of the world, I'm just going to break it down. The governments of the world under the UK government, because this was a UK government act in 1666, they are all trustees of properties from this agreement right here. This is why they claim ownership of all the land, of everything. I'm telling you, because you have to say that you're alive. And not only do you need to notify your government, and that's where everybody's stopping in America, and they really not winning because they only telling the American government, but the American government is an agency of the crown of the UK government. The UK government is the one who put out this fucking act. I don't want to get too deep, but that is the shit, man. That shit right there, number 24. Because of that, it's time to do a revocation of power of attorney to every fucking government agency. You need to revoke their power of attorney. You need to give them a notice to let them know that you're alive. Now, this stuff I'm talking because these are the things that's gonna let you use the power of all that shit you just found out, y'all. See, because right now, even though all that shit that we just found out is true about credit and letters of credits and all that, we put ourselves into a minor status. We've allowed ourselves to be in a minor status where all these banks, all these government agencies have the power of attorney over our accounts, of our bank accounts, security accounts, and every fucking accounts that we got. And as long as they got the power of attorney, and as long as nobody in our family has ever registered the fact that we are alive and not dead at sea, they got ownership of our estates, ownership of all of our assets. They managing it for their benefit and for their trustees, man. That's how this shit work. Trust and believe. So you need to do a revocation of power of attorney to every agency so that you could reestablish your fiduciary powers. Okay? We getting to wrapping shit up. You want to do a power of attorney revocation, reestablish your fiduciary powers. You also got to do a public notice that you are alive. And put every government of the world on notice. Make sure you put UK Crown on notice, Morocco on notice, the World Intellectual Property Organization on notice, the head of the Agriculture Department under notice. I didn't cover everything, but the Agriculture Department got everybody's name registered as a biological product. I don't want to get into that, man, but if we do this real quick, common names, let me see. Registered with Department of Agriculture. Man, my bad, man. I didn't pull it up. I really need to. Let me see. Department of Agriculture is like biological. Okay. Okay, so y'all know how they say humans got biological names, right? Anybody with me still?
We here.
I don't want to get too deep, but as y'all do more research, you're going to realize that biological names establishes species in a similar form. These are names owned by the Agriculture Department of Agriculture. And I don't want to get too deep, but the Department of Agriculture owns these common names and these biological names because they got you as that they own you, and they have mortgage agreements where your body is collateral for loans. And that's an agricultural agreement. That's why when people are trying to get reparations, I don't want to get too deep, but I mean, I keep saying that, but we're getting deeper than a bitch. Reparations is an agricultural suit. Okay, I want to show y'all this. Reparations. Let me show y'all, because people don't really break it down and why this shit is what it is. But reparations, everybody trying to fight for reparations. Man, reparations or reparations proceedings, they don't even tell you that a reparations is a claim filed with the Secretary of Agriculture for an award of damages against any stockyard owner. They saying that they are owners, and you are only a stock product according to the Packers and Stockyard Act of 1921. Gotta read this shit, man. You are owned by the Department of Agriculture, people. And register your name technically is registered owner from the Department of Agriculture if you're utilizing a biological name. Okay. Now they have claims against animals, y'all, poultry, swine, and people. I don't want to get too deep into that, but these reparations proceedings, nobody has questioned. Why are these Department of Agricultural operations? And what it's got to do with money? It got a lot to do with money, because as long as we letting the Department of Agriculture have fiduciary power over us, they're going to treat us like cattle. That's what the fuck is going on. That's exactly what the fuck is going on. So you need to reestablish your fiduciary powers and give the fiduciary powers to an organization, an entity, or an establishment that is external to these public powers, to like your own private irrevocable trust or tribal trust, right? You want to take away everybody's power of attorney and establish your fiduciary powers. A fiduciary is a person or organization that acts on behalf of others and is legally bound to act in their best interest. You got to act in the best interest of the person that you're bound to act on behalf, y'all. A lot now, because of that, they have a something called the Best Interest Act. It's called Regulation Best Interest. I don't want to get too well. I don't want to keep. Well, I have to let y'all know this shit, man. Regulation Best Interest is under the Securities Exchange Act. It establishes the best interest standard of conduct for broker dealers. So all the securities agents, broker dealers, and people that's dealing with your money, even banks got fiduciary powers. Once you learn what their fiduciary rights are, you can hold them accountable to that. More than likely, they breaking those laws. But at the same time, you want to just reestablish your fiduciary and make sure it's somebody who's going to uphold the laws the right way. We talked about accounting in the systems. The best thing is to get your own accounting system and register it with whatever revenue department that you are going to be doing business with. So, like, let me show you. IRS has a form where you can change your accounting method and register your accounting method, y'all. Remember how I said you can have any type of accounting method. Once you prove to them what your accounting method is and how you're going to be accounting, then you got the power to utilize those laws when you're doing business with any organization within a jurisdiction. So you just got to register that. Let me show y'all this. IRS form for registering a foreign government. I'm trying to break some codes here for people, because you need to have some power to do most of this shit. Because you ask yourself, if these laws are like this, why don't I have the power? Well, you don't have the power because you didn't set up the right organizations. You're not operating in the right jurisdictions to do that. And you got some bullshit ass people with power of attorneys and fiduciary capacities over you. And they got the right to say that you ain't nothing but a minor and you're dead and you ain't never said you're alive. So shit, they could treat you like shit and like a cattle. So sometimes you want to register a foreign government or another foreign organization. You want to register that foreign organization, you get to use this form. I'm just breaking some codes down here. You can register your whole foreign government agency. And you also, what's so interesting is you can create whatever tax identification you want that your own personal private government, whether it's a tribal government or whatever, has issued to you. And I'm telling you, this is some gangster shit. You can issue your own tax identification numbers. If you read W8EXP, and this is a document that you do not send directly to the IRS, because this ain't how this document works. You send this to people that you do business with, and then they register it and report it to the IRS. That's how this shit go. But you would have to read the instructions for this form, and you can get all that information that you need to find out how to crack that part of the code. This ain't no joke. As you can see in 7B, they say foreign tax identification number. You go to instructions and you look at section 7. Come on, y'all. What you doing, man? Okay, yeah. Part 1, 7. Where we at, man? Man. They ain't hitting us with a tax 7B, man. Whatever. Okay. If you are providing this to document yourself as an account holder, whatever, bro. Tax identification. Hold on. Okay, your jurisdiction of residence is identified on the list of jurisdictions that do not issue foreign tax identification number. So some people don't even issue foreign tax identification number. If you identified yourself as a foreign government, you got the right to put whatever FTIN number on line 8B that is issued to you from your foreign government. Remember, if your foreign government is a foreign tribe, that just is what it is. I'm just showing people some documentation that, man, may help you crack your whole motherfucking code. I'm trying to tell you. So you register your own foreign government. I'm here to tell you that you can go ahead and tell them what your accounting procedures are, right? They even got forms, IRS forms, and I'm gonna keep moving after this to the next one. IRS form for let me see. IRS form for registering credit. Where are we at? Okay. 8911, you register a payment or form 8911. And I'm just showing y'all some shit real quick. IRS form 8911. Nope, that ain't it. Burn. I just messed up. I mean, shit. Where we at, man? Well, anyway, I just went off tangent there and didn't hit the button I was looking for. Well, long story short, there is always a way to register any type of value. What I was looking for there is a method of registering credit directly with the IRS, but we ain't got to worry about that because every accounting system, I want to tell y'all, and every banking system has a way for you to originate credits. For instance, NACHA, this is a big system. The whole electric banking system operates based on this, not your operating rules, NACHA rules. These are rules that anybody could fucking adhere to, okay? This is deep as fuck. And you can be originating, and I'm just going here, so whoever sees this, y'all gonna want to do your own research later, trust me. And there's a way for you to become originating financial institution and not. So originator is any entity that creates an ACH transaction. Remember, ACH transactions are automated clearinghouse transactions. And this is deep because in American banking systems, you want to see who the ACH is, right? Automated clearinghouse is a financial network used for electronic payments to make money transfers. So everybody trying to get money in a bank and get credit cards and get debit cards. Well, the bank itself is a system separate than the electronic system that it uses, y'all. So the Federal Reserve is a system, but ACH is the electronic system that they use to transfer payments throughout their system. And you could access the ACH system, y'all. That's a whole system. And then SWIFT is a payment SWIFT system. Okay, for international payments, you got the SWIFT banking system, right? SWIFT is a banking system. NACHA is a banking system. And long story short, you can have a role where you entering credits into those systems. Just like the UCC1 is a method for you registering a credit. I'm trying to tell y'all, the codes can get cracked the more you read those documentations about NACHA and the SWIFT operating rules, y'all. Accounts. I just want to give a quick definition for accounts so we don't have to be tripping because it's only bank accounts, security accounts, credit accounts. These are the type of accounts that people was trying to get access to and use a lot, right? So account is an arrangement with somebody holding some funds on behalf of somebody else, or what's the deepest part, the original part that creates all the money is a record or statement of financial expenditures and receipts relating to a particular period or purpose. So you can have an account for a time period, or you can have an account for a purpose, like a business account, banking account, a travel account. And it's you, if you got a piece of paper and you managing your account statements and your value statements, then that's a real account, man. And once you get your account that you managing on paper, according to T accounting principles, whatever is happening in your T accounts and private accounts, you technically, the game is you can technically register in any one of these accounting systems. And remember, NACHA is an accounting system, NACHA. The ACH network is an accounting system. Okay, SWIFT is an accounting system. Let's talk about cracking the code here, people. This is an accounting system, which you can take your own private accounts, your private transactions, and you can get them documented in those other systems, y'all. Let's talk about this. USGGL. I believe this is it. The United States General Accounting Ledger. This is all accounting. We're going to get somewhere. We're going to get there if we want to get there. Money ain't nothing but accounting. Here goes one of the biggest evidences. The whole United States government, all banks, all countries, all states, all their accounts come to one place. It's called the United States Standard General Ledger. It's one ledger. It is one ledger. Can I get access to this? I know you can because it's definitely up here. Can we get it? Stop playing with me, man. Man. Let me just get a copy so y'all can see. This is a crack the code type of message. USGGL. No, it's USSGL. USSGL, yeah. USSGL .pdf. We want to see this shit. I don't think it's in PDF, but man, here it goes. Yeah, it is. Man, listen, y'all. You're finna see the actual look, y'all. They can't lie to you when you know the truth. When you got some financial instruments, some securities, you got your private company set up, you got your trust set up, because everything operates in trust. In a trust deed are private agreements, no government can come against. You understand security instruments, financial instruments, value and exchange and assignment and transfer of value. And then you start to actually identify the fucking accounts where they need to start to make these transactions documented at. You a bad motherfucker. You start to know how to write the code that's according to the terms and conditions of their accounting systems, such as ISO 20022. You Neo in the Matrix, meaning you can make that motherfucker turn to whatever you want. That's the truth. Now, in the U.S. Standard General Ledger, they talking about is 4-digit USGGL accounts. They have these sections. They got a section for assets, liabilities, net position, budgetary, revenue and other financial sources, expenses, gains, losses, miscellaneous items, and memorandum. All this is a chart of accounts. It's going to let you know a chart, the list, the table of contents, all the different type of accounts that can exist within the United States government general ledger. And I'm here to tell you, every public company and every private transaction that is relevant to commerce within the jurisdiction of the United States is in this account. So when you do something, you want to find out which account it should be in so that people can't fucking lie to you. So you got assets columns. They let you know if it's a debit or credit entry over here. You're going to be amazed at some of these things. Some of these things are not debits, they're credits. You would think some of them are credits, but they're debits. But once you realize that this is a public ledger and you have another private side that's not shown here, you're going to get it. It's double book entry accounting. You learn that and you're going to get it. In the private side, we're going to get it. Long story short, you got assets. This is a fund balance with the Treasury, fund balance with the Treasury. I'm not going to go too deep. You got cash. All of this is considered cash. Undeposited accounts, impressed funds. You want to learn what this shit is. U.S. debit card funds, public funds held by the public. Now, you got some funds that you holding and, you know, you're not even registering with them. So they don't even got that number 100% unless you registered some of that assets you got. Anyway, other cash goes here. IMF cash, other monetary assets, receivables is a debit. You got a credit right here, allowance for loss in accounts receivables. Long story short, all of this is worth some money, y'all. You're going to start to see some shit here that's going to blow your wigs back. Assets, receivables, loans receivable, trouble asset relief programs, fines receivables, penalties and fines receivables, allowances, inventory and related property, operating materials. These are debitable. This is how you keep account for things. You have an economic value and you either debit its value or credit its value according to your accounting principles. Inventory, raw materials, work in process. Hey, work in process is an asset. Finished goods is asset. Allowances, seized money, forfeited property, commodities, other related properties, y'all. Assets. Premium was on security. Preferred stocks. It gets deep. Investments, foreign investments, discount investments. These are all assets. Continue. General property, plant and equipment. I'm showing you all this because if you can find yourself at any time with any of these things, you might not have known that these things are currently capable of being documented as assets. Some things as far as like contract authority and contract holdbacks, right? Capital transfers, any other, it's just a general other assets. Remember, anything is an asset, y'all. Anything can be considered an asset. This shit is diabolical, right? Principal payable to the Bureau of Public Debt. We're going through this whole list real quick. This is 23 pages. We ain't gonna do the whole list. It's some shit in here though, man. 23 pages of different things that's listed on the account. Oh, when you start to find out about contra accounts, you're gonna get into some shit. We're not gonna go too deep here, but what accounting is the name of the game, man. I'm just gonna say contra accounts. Contra account is a negative account that is netted from the balance of another account on the balance sheet. Long story short, for every positive, you have an equal opposite negative. For every account, it's double book entry accounting, and you create a contra account for every positive account. And this is what offsets your balances, y'all. Don't want to get into deep. Don't want to get, because your books should always be balanced. Your liabilities should always equal your assets. For sure, because every time you register an asset, you have to register a contra liability. And every time you register a liability, you want to enter a contra asset, a contra account for that shit. Anyway, that's double book entry accounting. You'll get into that. Negotiable instruments. Hey, pieces of paper that's worth money, man. Hey, that's pretty much all we dealing with. Letters of credit, we went into that. We even showed one, man. It's just an agreement where a creditor is going to give an applicant the right to defer payment due now for the future. And the person who's going to have to pay the payment in the future is the creditor, the person who says they will. And the person who applied and gets that letter of credit has the right to issue whatever checks, notes, balances, however they want to offset debts that they encounter or discharge debts with any negotiable instrument that's value is drawn from the letter of credit. And remember, the letter of credit could be from value drawn from any other security interest or financial document or any document evidencing value that they have interest in. Ain't nothing but paperwork. Man. Legislation of public documents. Now, this stuff gets important because we talked a little bit about the trickery and the diabolical nature of these different organizations having power of attorney over you. And then we talked about, you can have your own private social compact and things of this nature. But then when you're doing things privately, you want to make sure that these documents is respected by these other jurisdictions. Well, you're going to want to do some Hague Convention shit. Here we go. There's a Hague Convention that abolishes the requirements of legalization for foreign public documents. So when you have a foreign entity or foreign tribe, foreign government, yes, you can register with the United States, but you're foreign anytime that you're not within the jurisdiction of something. So you may be foreign to the United States of America as a tribe, but you're still operating in accordance with some United States of America laws, because that's how you get the United States of America to be held accountable when they do business with you. You want to still operate your laws in accordance with their laws and still operate on principles that they are holding themselves accountable to in these other nations. And that's how you get them to, be forced essentially to respect the laws. And we already know that there's another level of force when you got to use force to enforce some shit. But let's just go here real quick and just recognize that when you have a document and when you create that document, these are some laws that's letting you know, and this is really deep. Right here, this is the only part I'm going to read because this is the depthness of it. When you want your document to be respected by other governments, then here it goes. It says, this convention applies to public documents which have been what? Executed in the territory of one contracting state and which have to be produced in the territory of another state. So if you do these documents in Brazil, you want to produce them in America, or in America, you want to produce them in Brazil and make them lawful. These are something you have to follow, right? It says for them to be deemed public, they must emanate from an authority or an official connected with the courts or tribunals of the states, right? Or they have to be administrative documents. Any administrative document can be considered public. It's finna get deep. Any notarial act. So any document that you have and you get a notary to stamp, that can it automatically is considered a public document according to this, right? Also, official certificates which are placed on documents signed by persons in their private. This is giving private documents the power of public documents right here. Article 1, Section 9. Official certificates which are placed on documents signed by persons in their private capacity, such as official certificates recording the registration of a document or recording the fact that it was in existence on a certain date, and official notarial authentications of signatures. So they said anytime you got a document that was certified in somebody's private capacity, then okay, as official certificates and recorded with the notary signature. So you get a private document that's evidenced by a notary signature and or an official, you're good. So that's why private documents notarized start to have public international powers. And I'm just stating that because when you have contracts or letters of agreement and letters of credit, and you want to make sure that people respect it, you want to make sure that you get some witnesses to sign them and the notary to sign them so that that letter of credit can be authenticated, right? And I want to also, before we wrap up the last two, just talk about the Hague. Is it the Hague? Yeah. Convention on, and this might be just totally butchered, but this is an apostle convention. Okay. The apostle convention actually is another law that is intended to simplify the procedures in which the document can be certified for legal purposes. So you know how they said in this legalization for foreign public documents that even if it was private, it has to be certified. You want an official certification to make sure that it is accessible and capable of being entered into another country as a legal document. Well, this is a law that's stating what is the law on that certification, who can make that certification, right? And you'll notice that any authority in any state, and remember, a state is a nation or a tribe. So as long as you authorized by your sovereign state, it's finna get into this place. Sovereignty, religious freedoms, and exemptions. Because a lot of times we're going to third parties to get powers and shit, and they organizations was not created for us, so they don't be so quick to give us that power and cough us up that right, y'all. And remember, we got fiduciaries that don't got our best interests, and yeah, that's unlawful. So what we gonna do? Sue them? You could do all that, or you could just give them a revocation of power of attorney, have your own social compact, your own tribe set up, operating under your own sovereignty powers, due to your social compact, execute your religious freedoms, your right to believe whatever you want, and your right to act that belief out. That's what religious freedoms is. Because another definition for religion is your way of life, the collection of activities and actions that you engage in. So you want to protect your collection of activities and actions that you engage in, for real. So sovereignty is the capacity to judge yourself and to hold yourself accountable and to have a set of rules that you and others hold yourselves accountable to. Only when you take the responsibility of judging yourself and managing yourself in the operations of your community can you have the power to do things that sovereigns got the power to do, like license, lien, and levy, and create rules and things of this nature, and to have documents with authority and to authorize documents in this most authoritative capacity, right? And religious freedoms are protected internationally as the right for you to follow your beliefs and follow the rules and regulations that's bestowed upon you through the Most High or your God or whatever higher power that you perceive there is, even if you are the highest power in your religious belief system. You have the right to be your God because that's a religious freedom. I'm just saying. Exemptions. You get exemptions from rules and regulations and policies and procedures that do not apply to you. You have 100% exemption authority to be exempt or to not be held liable from any rule, regulation, or policy procedure that stems from a contract that you're not a signatory of. Like if you didn't sign the contract, you're not part of the contract. If you didn't agree to be held accountable to the contract, you're not held accountable to the contract unless it's implied by your actions. And there's an implied trust. What's implied mean? We already kind of know, but let's see. It's suggested but not directly expressed. You didn't have to give implicit implicit instructions for a trust. So a trust can be expressed or implied. And a lot of these third-party agencies, organizations, government entities have a lot of power over us because of implied trust relationships, which they became trustees through color of law. Color of law. So implied trust. Let's get something real simple. Implied trust can be loosely divided into resulting and constructive trust. Okay, the former can be presumed, intended, or automatic trust, right? So, long story short, it could be happening out of operations of law or because people are acting like that relationship exists, then it exists. Express trusts are deliberately created, usually in writing form of a deed. You get a deed of trust or will, but can be created verbally by somebody saying, hey, man, I'm going to give you this property managed on behalf of that person for me or for my beneficiaries or whatever the case may be. It's very important to know that. And you get exemptions again from any contract that you are not a party of. And religious freedoms are protected internationally. Got to start using those. And last but not least, man, the most powerful question you could ask is what if? Once you get the basic terms, see, magic doesn't happen because it's possible. Magic happens because you ask what is possible. You say, okay, since I know what value is now, and I'm learning what securities are now, and I'm learning what financial instruments are now, you just got to start saying what if. Like, what if we started our own tribe with our own banking systems, with our own licenses, with our own religions, with our own authority, yet we set up our systems that so that they compatible with international law and they operated in compatibility with other systems so they can be so our value can be easily traded and exchanged. What will happen in that situation? What if we drafted our own private negotiable instruments and transferred them to organizations and institutions that's held accountable to these laws? What if we enforced our instruments and utilized some of these agencies to enforce them? What if I created a contract with my straw man and promised to pay my straw man $1 billion in exchange for utilizing my straw man? What if I created $1 billion contract with my friend in exchange for a hug that's worth $1 billion? And what if I documented that? What if I found a UCC statement? What if I created some checks that was drawn down from those values? What if I sent those checks to a company? You understand what I'm saying? What if leads you to handling some magical operations once you just look at the basic elements of the financial system? That's the conversation. I don't know how long that was, but we can open ourselves to questions, concerns, considerations, and things of that nature. Oh, wow. So I never even responded to this request to record to the cloud.
I think I'm recording.
Okay, so whoever made that request, my bad.
Just hit. Oh, okay. Hit start recording just in case that was an old request for me. I don't know.
We'll see. All right, cool.
No, I have it.
Man,
I have it.
microphone. Okay, cool.
I'm still recording right
So
now.
people, are you still recording, Edward?
Yes.